Well, I sat down and watched for about 3 hours the entire 5 episode Chernobyl HBO movie, and I strongly suggest it to anyone. It's worth watching. I never understood what happened in Chernobyl, but it's worth looking at. I fully understand now what happened, and I can recall it to you, but it won't mean anything unless you watch the movie. But basically, they were trying to run a test. The Russian government was trying to run a test that had failed 4 times before, and so this is plot spoiler. So you don't watch after this. But what happened was that they were running a test, and they were trying to see if they could maintain the power before the backup. The idea was is that in the case of a power outage, would it be uh, is there a capacity to have a safe um, switch from the power outage to the generators, and the generators wouldn't be able to reach uh, the full output of power necessary to control the turbines that push the water, or the stuff that pushes the water through to cause the turbines to release the steam. I mean, or to cool down the reactor, so to pump the water into the reactor, and that would the steam produced from the water runs the turbines, which generates the electricity. So the idea was is that um, if the turbines were still running and there was electricity coming out, could they cross over the remaining electricity from the reactor to run itself until the generators come up to support pushing the water through. And what happened was that the government um, got told, they told these people that are running this test that they couldn't have it happen in the daytime, that it had to happen at night. So they postponed the test until that night, but they had still had the test started earlier in the day. And so for about 10 hours, it was filling the reactor with xenon, and was poisoning the reactor. And the xenon, um, I don't fully understand what xenon does, but it's dangerous nonetheless. And you poison the reactor, then it's going to act strangely. And when they finally ran the test, um, they could only get the power up to about 200 megawatts. It was supposed 700 was safe, but when they when they brought it down to 700, it went all the way down, and they turned off the reactor or whatever, or they pulled out the control rods. Um, the power went up, and the control rods. What it all boiled down to was that the control rods had graphite tips on them, and they used it. They have this button that's supposed to stop the reactor that pushed all the control rods in, and which is supposed to stop the reaction, but it didn't. The graphite tips on them caused the reaction um, to increase exponentially, and it created kind of a nuclear bomb as a result. And all the control rods, the guy that was in the chamber where the control rods uh, had the steel covers to the control rods, he was watching them popping up and jumping, and those things were really heavy, and so he ran out of there, and that whole thing exploded and um, sent radioactive graphite and stuff into the air. And the whole movie shows you all the stuff that they had to do to prevent what would have been a major catastrophe, and in great detail. And it's a friggin' scary story. I had no idea that, and when this was all happening, I was alive. I was 16 or 17 years old, and I can remember what I was doing. I was about to graduate from high school, and so all that was going on while I was graduating from high school, and I was just like, wow, there could have been a lot of people who had died in Europe. They're saying that it could reach all the way into Germany and Poland and all those places. And now we see this stuff happening with Putin, bombing Ukraine, and these people have already been through a lot as it is, and even worse to have some dumb fuck from the old Russia trying to bring back the KGB and all the stupidity of the USSR. I wish God would just put it straight to these people, the people that run these governments, that God doesn't need you. God does not need you. He doesn't need any of us, but he certainly doesn't need those guys.